And welcome back to the booth here at Mythic Championship 4 from Barcelona. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. Paul, it's thunderstorming outside, but here we've got one more round of Limited to bring you. And we've got two powerhouse decks ready to clash against each other. We got a chance to have a short word there. Rich did earlier with Alan Wu, who said that his deck was a stone cold 10 out of 10. And when you hear that from somebody like Alan, you know he means it. Yeah. And he was right. We've got a chance to see it in action, and his deck was absurd. On the other side of the table, though, Thoralf Severin from Germany, he's not messing around either. His deck looks very strong.
Yeah, he drafted kind of the archetypical red-green lands in graveyard deck, featuring 3 cycle lands. He managed to get 2 copies of Tranquil Thicket along with Forgotten Cave with 3 copies of Igneous Elemental in his deck.
It's incredible. That, you know, the cycle lands are the easiest way to get one into your graveyard and fulfill that requirement. We see that straight away here from Thoralf. So they are going to be 2-for-1s all over the place here. He's going to run out a Talisman to kick things off and pass the turn back. Let's see what Alan can come up with. His deck is actually a little more reactive than you might think, given the number of removal spells in his deck, but still an Orcish Hellraiser will be just fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Thoralf playing a couple of talismans here because his deck is very, very high on power, but just needs to make sure that he doesn't fall behind, and it needs to ramp up to his big creatures.
It looks like he has one of his Firebolts in hand here and is considering the option of just killing this Orcish Hellraiser, though the option of forcing Alan to make a decision on whether to pay the Echo cost or not has got to be a little tempting to him too. And in fact, yes, he's going to go for the Nantuko Cultivator and discard 2 more lands as well. It's a 4/4, which of course is critical. It's big enough to block the 3/2 Hellraiser. Alan's going to pay the Echo cost, and he draws an Alpine Guide off the top of the library. If he's got another land, that'll be just fine, thank you.
Yeah, he has an Undead Augur that he can run out, but no good attacks here, and Thoralf is going to start unloading some of the heavy hitters that he has in his deck, most likely.
Yeah, already doing a fine job just with that Cultivator. He's got another one in his hand. They generally don't stack particularly well, but he can save that for later if he doesn't have any other plays and maybe pick up a land or two to discard to it. The question is now, what does he want to do? He's got a lot of options. He's going to go Firebolt on the Orcish Hellraiser. That's going to knock Thoralf down to 18, but it clears the way for a nice attack here with the Cultivator for 4. That's going to put Alan Wu down to 16, and there's even a follow-up Hollowhead Sliver as well. And interestingly, you see Thoralf playing the Forgotten Cave out of his hand.
Yeah, indicating that he has a large creature that he wants to play from hand, and he does have an Excavating Anurid sitting in his hand.
Wow, he has a great version of this red-green deck.
Right.
This is just exactly what you want.
Yeah, Alan needs to, Alan has a lot of ways to kill small creatures. We saw multiple Pyrophobias. He's got some Firebolts, but, once we get to the late game, when you play against a green deck, there's just a wide variety of gigantic monsters that you're going to have to fight through.
Okay, Alpine Guide, that draw last turn is going to hit the battlefield now. And there's that Excavating Anurid in hand now for Thoralf Severin, and we'll see if what he wants to do. His other options are to play an Nantuko Cultivator as a 2/2, not particularly appealing, or he's got Tornado, and with no great targets in sight here, he may just want to cycle it, though. You got to figure that Anurid getting on the battlefield is kind of where you want to be.
That's what you want to do. I mean, he is very close to actually getting Threshold here. If he plays the Anurid, sacrifices a land, that puts card number 5 in the graveyard. And then he also has that Hollowhead Sliver in play that lets him kind of rummage through his deck.
Okay. He's going to discard the Forgotten Cave to the Anurid. And as you mentioned, that's 5 of the 7 for Threshold. The Anurid gets +1/+1 and gets Vigilance as well.
And he does get to cycle that Tornado just with the Hollowhead Sliver in play.
That's right. That's card number 6 in the graveyard. So that Anurid very likely to be ready to rumble next turn as a 5/5. And Alan Wu's going to need to find some of his bigger removal spells. We've seen he's heavy on cheap red removal spells, but the cards like Mob and Magmatic Sinkhole are going to be at a premium here against the big green creatures from Severin.
And keep in mind, this Alpine Guide has to attack. So Thoralf might.
Humph.
Yep, exactly. Thoralf might just put that Anurid in front of the Alpine Guide and kind of force Alan to have an additional threat to attack. So one thing that Alan can do, and he's kind of in an awkward situation because if you look at his hand, he's got Igneous Elemental. So he can run out Igneous Elemental, target the Anurid, then attack with his creatures, which then, Thoralf can then just choose to take the damage this turn. But this does mean that Alan, kind of gets to maximize his mana and put something big in play. Looks like he's actually going to run out of Quakefoot Cyclops here instead to make sure that he can get in for additional points of damage this turn and try to race Thoralf.
Yeah, it's tough. He's doesn't want to just have to throw away this Alpine Guide.
Right.
And this does let him keep it on the battlefield, but it doesn't feel like he's in a great position to win the race currently.
Yeah, and it looks like that's why he's considering keeping back the Undead Augur just to have as a blocker here.
Yeah, that Alpine Guide must attack, so that's not a decision point. The thing he was thinking about, as you said, Paul, was the Augur.
Right. So again, Thoralf, 1 card away from having Threshold, which would then give the Excavating Anurid +1/+1 and Vigilance, so you can play offense and defense.
He also has the luxury of doing this at instant speed thanks to the Hollowhead Sliver.
Right.
Looks like he wants to see what's up and do it now, though. Interesting, he's going to get rid of the Nantuko Cultivator, and he finds a Bellowing Elk. But look at this, Cyclops into
attack.
Cyclops, and that is 9 damage, knocking Alan Wu down to 3.
And Thoralf has an Urza's Rage in hand, so Alan has to win this turn or find a way to gain life, and I'm not sure that he has life gain in his deck.
I don't think he does, and I can't see how he could win the game this turn, getting in for a full 12. Thoralf Severin putting it to Alan Wu and potentially stranding a bunch of cards in his hand in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. He's got 5 spells in hand. And, yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to survive. Thoralf, you can take a look at him in the lower left-hand side of your screen. Now he just has to give his best poker face. Just, I got nothing. We're fine. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, you just have to deal with these creatures and
Look
you're
at
probably
him.
fine.
Look at that casual, just a little.
Well, it's nice when you have an uncounterable 3 damage spell in your hand
Indeed.
against your opponent who's at 3 life.
Not the worst.
Yeah, not the worst.
Plague Engineer is the play from Alan Wu. Normally, that's going to do good work here against Thoralf, primarily because of the death touch that it has, being able to trade off for a big card like an Anurid and such. But as it stands, it's going to be much tougher. He named Giant.
Still has to attack with the Alpine Guide, and Thoralf just going, okay, the only way I lose is somehow by not blocking and taking something ridiculous happening. So he's just going to go ahead and preserve the life total and show the Urza's Rage. Yep.
And that's good enough. Alan Wu says, you got me. And game number 1 convincingly goes to Thoralf Severin from Germany with this red-green Lands in the Graveyard deck. We need a name for that, by the way, Pi. But that's the archetype here in Modern Horizons for the red-green deck. It cares about lands in the yard. And his deck is perfectly set up to not only get them there, but benefit from it.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 cycle lands is so
3
so
cycle
huge.
lands with the elementals is just lights out.
It's great.
Yeah, so fantastic stuff there and a really good showing there from Thoralf. We're going to get to see if he can finish things off or if Alan Wu's 10 out of 10 in his own words deck can get the job done. First, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey everybody, I'm with world champion Javier Dominguez here, and we're going to crack a pack of Modern Horizons. And as you're doing that, Javier, let me know your favorite color combo in Modern Horizons.
Blue-black, ninjas, not even close.
So why do you think Blue-Black Ninjas is so good in this format?
I think it just has most good matchups. Like they had like some of the best cards, and also like really hard to attack. Like there's no counter strategy to ninjas. I think that's why it's the best.
And they just come out of nowhere and surprise you. And ooh, I heard an ooh here. All right, so what do we like here in this pack?
The Hogak.
Good and modern, I think
I
still.
thought it's playable in modern. You know, like imagine if you pair this card with like, Griffer cards and zombies, and yeah, it could be. Must try it. I don't even know if this is a pick though.
Oh really? Okay, so talk me through what you're thinking about looking through this pack.
Well, I'm thinking like I like Fate Seer a lot. I think this card is very good.
But it's just a 1/1 flyer for one.
Scry 2 though. I think Scry 2 is actually kind of close to drawing a card. Imagine a 1/1 flying draws a card. That would be great, right? I think Fate Seer can be almost as good in many decks. So I'm really high in this card. And I think that's the one, I think it's the best one among the others. But I think maybe Hogak is better.
This is a tough choice for you, it looks like.
If I open this, and I think I will probably pick Hogak because it's hard to replace. Like, it is a very unique card, and it's also like good in green and black. It's more like a green card, I think, but I think Hogak. Yes.
All right, so you love ninjas most of all, but Hogak good enough to push you into a graveyard synergy?
Yeah, I think so. I think I will try to pair it with Alter of Dementia. Maybe that works.
Oh, Altar of Dementia, okay.
So.
All right, we're just building a modern deck here in draft. So Hogak, Arisen Necropolis, the pick here for Javier Dominguez in Modern Horizons draft.
Welcome back to the feature match area here in Barcelona. We're here for Mythic Championship 4. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon, and we're in the last round of booster draft of the tournament. And this is the finals of this pod, and boy, you can see how these two players made it to the finals, Paul. These decks are outrageous.
Yeah, they are incredibly powerful, but it looks like Thoralf's deck is just matches up so well against Alan's deck, because Alan has a nice curve of small creatures, but Thoralf is packing double a Firebolt and 3 copies of Igneous Elemental, and it is trivial for his deck to put a land into his graveyard. Sometimes you draft a regular land deck and it doesn't all come together, and it's hard to get that land. But with 3 cycle lands, multiple cultivators, it is really easy for him.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is a perfect example of just that. Alan Wu has played two toughness creatures now. The first one died right there on turn 2 to a Firebolt off of that Talisman of Curiosity. And now we're going to see Hollowhead Sliver for both players. This could get interesting.
And if Alan has a removal spell, he might want to get that Sliver off the battlefield, because he definitely does not want to give Thoralf the opportunity to put a land into his graveyard.
That's right. That is one of the many ways that Thoralf Severin has put into his deck to do so. Alan's just going to attack for 2, though. Does he have a way to just take out the Hollowhead Sliver? It is a powerful card.
It looks like he's just going for a more aggressive line here. He's going to run out Rank Officer, discard a card, to just try to put additional pressure here.
Fist of Flame's going to hit the graveyard, but that's going to turn into a 2/2 zombie.
Yeah, and he does have a Quickfoot.
And this is just going to fall apart for Alan Wu very quickly, because now with 2 lands in hand, I believe. Oh, maybe I didn't see that correctly.
Is that I'm assuming he has an Igneous Elemental in hand.
Yeah, he does. So that's good enough.
Huge.
So there's a land going into the graveyard, and with 4 mana, including double red, we could just see the Igneous Elemental come down.
This is so tough.
And extract some value here. It is a little interesting to decide if you want to hit the Rank Officer or the Hollowhead Sliver, as the Officer does trade off for the Elemental, but he decided to go for the more powerful option with the Sliver.
Yeah. And Alan probably just wants to continue adding pressure to the board here, running out the Quakefoot Cyclops, targeting the Elemental and getting in for 5, and just trying to race Thoralf's, extremely powerful late game.
He's doing whatever he can. And he has managed to put out a lot of power. It's 9 power on the side of Alan Wu.
Yeah, Quakefoot Cyclops.
It's a big swing.
Does a lot of work, especially when you're on the play, when you are the aggressor. And we're going to see a defensive Quakefoot Cyclops here.
Oh, Quakefoot Cyclops go from Thoralf Severin.
Wow.
What did he
find?
find?
Look at that. He had a mob in hand and also found a Pyrophobia.
Huh. Removal on removal.
Removal plus removal.
So that is kind of the name of the game for Alan. He has so much removal.
I think what he's going to do is Pyrophobia, the Igneous Elemental, then mob the Quakefoot Cyclops, and then attack for 4.
Maybe you should be playing down there, Paul.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes. They don't let me anymore, though.
They took you out of the game, didn't they? Nah, you're doing good work at WotC. We need you in the building. In the meantime, Thoralf Severin is getting kind of pounded here. He's going to cycle away the Tranquil Thicket. Is it too late, though? Maybe not. He just found another copy of Igneous Elemental here, Paul.
Yeah, that was a really huge find. Getting that Rank Officer off the board, as that was an additional source of reach damage. He doesn't even need to attack. He can just remove creatures from his graveyard to deal points of damage. And now, I mean,
wow.
Alan's deck is full of removal. So, Thoralf is sitting at 7.
Huge.
So, yeah, this is
big.
big.
If he finds a removal right here, he could slam the door on this game, put Thoralf probably too far behind to come back by killing that Igneous Elemental. But if he doesn't, then Thoralf may have stabilized.
Yeah.
Off of a very good draw. And look at this. Alan Wu's just going to attack. Thoralf cannot wait to block. And it's only Gluttonous Slug off the top of the library. Thoralf Severin has stabilized this game at a mere 7 life.
We might just see a hard cast Crows and Tusker
yeah,
here.
just go big Tusky. Yeah. He does have the land for it. And there it
Boom.
is. The 6/5, no value needed, just big green beef. And right now, Alan Wu is in desperate situation here. He is so close to being able to shut the door, and he has to pass a turn back.
Oh, and this is tough because there's that Hollowhead Sliver in play. So now Thoralf is basically almost guaranteed to draw relevant spells for a large portion of this game until Alan finds extra removal.
That's right. Thoralf Severin is going to be able to play that Hollowhead Sliver like a fiddle. And look at this, he even adds Twin Silk Spider to his side of the board before passing the turn back. After attacking, by the way, with the Tusker. Thoralf is wasting no time. Spinehorn Minotaur is going to get a counter on the Slug, but it's not doing much else.
Yeah, and Alan just does not have a great attack here. Thoralf can just simply double block the zombie token with the Spider. And yeah, Thoralf even attacking with that Crows and Tusker on the previous turn.
Hollowhead Sliver is going to get rid of a mountain and turn that into another card thanks to the Sliver. And what did he find? He has an Nantuko Cultivator, but he has another spell in his hand. The Cultivator's pretty bad. Oh, and he found an Excavating Anurid as well. Perhaps the perfect draw there.
And he has Threshold. So that is a 5/5 Vigilance creature.
He's going to go ahead and cycle right now as well. He found a Tranquil Thicket off of it. And this one is looking terrible for Alan Wu with the quick start. Has it all just fallen apart for him at this point? Oh, maybe we spoke too soon. Look what he drew.
Yeah, that was
Seasoned Pyromancer.
That was probably the best possible card he could find. So, if you can maybe string together some strong removal spells here, he has a slight chance. But, I mean, look at Thoralf's board. He's just got giant, beefy monsters in play.
Plague Engineer he found. Let's see. If he names Spider, he can shrink those down.
He can name Beast.
Beast looks good. We'll figure out what he named.
Oh, I think that was another Igneous Elemental.
Yep, you are correct.
Oh, and Firebolt.
Come on,
yeah.
Thoralf. By the way, we got to give it up for Hollowhead Sliver here, doing serious work, cashing in a bunch of lands for spells.
Definitely.
This is the time when it really starts to shine. Named Beast. Not bees, chat. Come on.
But given the Igneous Elemental and the Firebolt, don't think that Plague Engineer is long for this world.
Yeah, there's a decent chance that Alan Wu's draft is not long for this world either, though he will get a 2-1 if he, even if he loses here.
Yeah, he's got a fantastic deck, but he's also run into an excellent red-green deck.
Definitely.
There's Severin.
Plague Engineer going away to yet another copy of Igneous Elemental. Bees, please.
Yeah.
And he's going to jam with the 2 big boys. This is a lethal attack, forcing Alan Wu to block something. He needs to put another creature on just to get rid of the Excavating Anurid.
Right. Maybe he chump blocks with the Pyromancer.
Could take the 6. I'm sure there's a Firebolt somewhere around here, though. Yeah, there's one in the graveyard right now, Paul. So going down to 2 for Alan Wu would mean that he'd be dead next turn, even without combat. And it's looking like he's going to be dead even with it. So a chump block probably in order. But at this point, it's hard to imagine that there's any cards that could get Alan Wu back if he's in chump block mode here.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of removal, but, I mean, Thoralf has just gotten so far ahead on cards with the 3 copies of Igneous Elemental, each of them killing a creature when it entered the battlefield.
Killing good creatures, too.
Right.
Plague Engineers and Hollowhead Slivers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. And you can take a look at what things look like from the other side. No bueno for Alan Wu. He is up against immense pressure from Thoralf Severin, and I don't know what they're doing. Oh, he's just ordering the blockers, I suppose?
Yeah, just debating whether or not he wants to kill the Slug or the Minotaur plus the zombie token.
And now we're going to see Firebolt here to kill the zombie. That's a second firebolt going into the yard there. Alan did keep his life total at a healthy 8, but with the swamp off the top of the library, doesn't seem like there's any way out.
Yeah.
I think he's going to look at the board and scoop him up here in a minute. Thoralf Severin, by the way, he's on Tron in Modern, which was not a particularly popular choice, especially compared to the historical standard, where that card is actually quite, or excuse me, that deck is quite popular.
Yeah, we
but
saw
a 3-0 in the draft.
We saw a lot more Tron at Mythic Championship London, but you know, Tron didn't really get a whole lot of new toys from Modern Horizons, and you know, you saw in that kind of that player round table that we had with Team KMC, where they were saying, look, if your deck didn't get an upgrade, you probably shouldn't be playing that deck. And so, you know, Tron, one of those decks that basically got nothing, and Thoralf's just saying, you know what, this is the deck I know. And it's still extremely powerful, right? You get Tron turn 3, you cast your Karn, you cast your Oblivion Stones, you can still, you know, you have the capability of beating any deck.
So we're going to be transitioning over to Modern after we're done with this round, and Thoralf Severin, with a likely victory here, is going to be in great position. He's coming into this round at 9-1. If he is able to finish off Alan Wu like we think he will be 10-1. Heading into those last 5 rounds of Constructed. And I'll tell you what, Paul, that top 8 is very much in sight when you only have 1 loss at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, sure, the wheels could completely come off. That does happen sometimes, but he's put himself in a beautiful position. Another land off the top of the library here for Wu. He plays it, plays the Orcish Hellraiser, and passes the turn back. But as you can see, down to 8 life with just a couple of small creatures on the battlefield and nothing relevant left in hand. The outs, they are slim, and Thoralf Severin working his way towards victory here.
Yeah, he's even got a sideboarded Elvish Fury, I believe, in his hand. You know, we know that Alan has lots of removal in the form of burn spells, and Elvish Fury is a nice way to just counteract those pyrophobias that Alan Wu has.
Yeah, of course, Thoralf also looking at his graveyard and seeing not 1 but 2 copies of Firebolt there is just going to send everything into the red zone, forcing 2 chump blocks. This is 2, 4, 5, 6. It would put Alan Wu down to 2, and you know what that means. Firebolt would be lethal.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to cast the Elvish Fury. I think it'd be better if he just can guarantee that the 6 points of damage goes through, and then he just flashes back Firebolt, because you know, the black-red deck doesn't really have a way to gain life.
That's right. Thoralf, of course, just being extra careful here and saying, is there anything that I need to do? Is there anything that I have not considered that I need to? And he says, whatever, I'm going to go for Elvish Fury here, which does make it lethal, and nothing in hand for Alan Wu. Says, that's GG. Thoralf Severin is now 10-1 here in Barcelona. Really impressive stuff from him, dominating in the modern portion with Tron. Again, not the most popular deck here, but he's really making it work and crushing the booster draft portion as well, defeating not only a very good player, but a very good player with a very good deck here in Alan Wu in the last round.
Yeah, I mean, Igneous Elemental, if you can draft the proper deck, it is one of the top commons in the set, you know, and he did exactly that, and it did so much work. It was so impressive. And, you know, this just proves that, you know, this is the first time we kind of have seen this archetype have success. And, yeah, I mean, it can just do so much work. And red was just one of the more open colors in the draft. I think Alan and Thoralf were the ones that were just sucking up all those removal spells.
All right, well, let's jump over to one of our side tables here. We've got Paul Rietzel versus Julian Steele.
Paul Rietzel just always running into Lightning Skelemental, it looks like.
Yes, he is. Every time we have him on camera, he's facing down that card. Life totals are going to be extremely relevant here because, as you can see, Paul has Ninja of the New Moon with Smoke Shroud on it, which is a quick clock almost regardless of what the life totals end up being.
I'm very curious what the actual life totals are.
Yeah, that's what we need to know, but we'll find out shortly.
But Paul does have a giant Flying Ninja, 7 damage a turn in the air.
He's going to have to leave it back. He must be on extremely low life, probably 3 or less.
Yeah.
Given the Firebolt in the graveyard plus the Spider.
Right.
No, he's at 5.
But keep in mind those fountains can be activated to attack as well.
Of course, Fountain of Vicar becomes a 3/3 dinosaur somehow.
So Julian can just double activate the fountains, attack with everything, get in for 4, and then flashback Firebolt on the following turn.
Yeah, that is a game plan.
And given that he's at 13, there's not a whole lot of things can't go too. I suppose if Paul does have a removal spell, that would be very bad.
Just wouldn't Paul have attacked? Well, anyway, here we go. Block one of them, take 4. Yeah, you're down to 1, Paul. Paul just having to force the issue here, but it looks like he's going to take a loss, and he does. Julian Steele defeats Paul Rietzel. That is not an easy thing to do. Paul had a win condition of He had a win streak of 19 consecutive match wins at the Pro Tour coming into this draft. I don't know how this particular draft went for him exactly, but well, certainly lost there. So,
streak finally broken.
That's
and
right.
we can all blame Tim Willoughby for cursing him for talking about that streak.
Oh no, is it Tim's fault?
I think so.
Brutal, but it has happened sometimes just like that. And yeah, that's going to do it for our coverage of the booster draft portion here from Barcelona. It was great. You know, this format ends up being really deep and really interesting every time we see it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had an absolute blast. Just every time I draft, it's just you just get super excited. It's like, all right, what am I going to open? What archetype am I going to go? Because almost all of them are viable and all of them are powerful as long as you find your lane. And for the players who found their lane and settled into the appropriate colors, they were super rewarded and had extremely powerful decks.
Of course, some of the players chose their lane before they sat down. And
Didn't go as
hopefully
well for them.
Their lane found them, you
Right.
know, in which case they're in great shape. But yeah, that is going to do it for this. Now we're going to be looking forward to transition over to Modern coming up in just a little bit here as we kind of wind things down for the limited portion. But there's, of course, always a lot to look forward to in Modern, especially this tournament where we've had a lot of really cool decks come out and also some kind of new boogeyman, you know, on the scene with Hogak. And, you know, that isn't one of the, you know, only things that we see coming in. But, yeah, there's a lot. So what we're going to do now, though, is we're going to take a short break, and we've got a little bit more limited to bring you before we do hand off over to Modern, and we're going to do some time walk from right here, you and I, Paul, right after this. Don't go anywhere.